The same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land.
To who?
In the West and the Midwest.
To whom?
Which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor.
White
but
people.
Not only did they give the land, they built land grant colleges.
For whom?
With government money.
Whose money?
Them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents.
Taught white folks how to farm.
With their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates.
What?
In order that they could mechanize their farm. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm. And they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. This is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign...
What campaign?
We are coming to get our check.
Come on, y'all. Listen, y'all put your hands together for Dr. Martin Luther King. You know, that's not the Dr. King they tell you about, though.
No, that's not the I have a dream speech.
That's the I have a dream deferred speech. Too much. That's the we coming for our check or we gonna get on your neck. Oh boy. Sonia, you ready for this ride?
I am ready for this.
Vanessa, you ready?
Always.
Samaya, we're gonna do this. I got Saira Rao. Ow!
Yes.
She's back. She is right here. She's right here. I'm telling you, everybody right now, what I need you to do is go and just share it. Go on your Facebook page right now and just share this, because you know what? A clinic's about to go down. We're about to do the dang thing. We started with Dr. Martin Luther King. Not the one that I saw that was set up and he was... They had his I Had a Dream speech and he was sponsored by AT&T. It was a commercial. This is not the Dr. King sponsored by your favorite corporation. We just let you hear a little bit of the Dr. Martin Luther King who Dr. Vincent Harding said he was the inconvenient hero. You know, the poet said now that he is safely dead, we could build monuments to his name and sing hosannas. And are we ready to do this?
I think we're ready to do it.
Saira, let's just jump in. Trigger alert. Here it comes.
All right, you know, I've gotten really good at this because it's occurred to me I am a walking, talking trigger. So I've got to give this alert everywhere I go. So let's do it. This is a show that triggers people because you have entered a free think zone. If you are not willing to be exposed to other points of view, tune out now and definitely don't read the comments. You have been warned.
You have been warned. Okay, listen, let's just jump. How deep you want to go today?
As deep as you want. I'm ready to do it. Yeah, let's do it.
But first, you know what? I want to say, Saira, you ran a congressional race against Diana DeGette in District 1. And you did the dang thing.
I did, thank you.
You walked away with, I think, like 43,000 votes.
I did.
You got into the race relatively late.
Very late.
I think if you would have jumped in a little earlier, or if there was a little more time, you would be in there.
You know, just if you looked at sort of how we were trending the last day, we got something like 12,000 votes. I think if we had another month, 6 weeks, we would have won.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were very, you know, I know that Diana DeGette said, after hanging up on me when I called her to congratulate her, she, you know, made this very classy statement. That wasn't much of a challenge now, was it? So 1 in 3, let's just, you know, let's break it down. 1 in 3 voters basically fired her for somebody who was a no-name, 20 weeks, one of the last, if not the last people in this country to file for the midterms, no corporate money, running as this situation, a brown woman, right, on an explicitly anti-racist platform. 1 in 3 voters wanted to fire her, but that's not meaningful, right?
Wow.
I'm used to being a minority and not and not mattering. I just can't believe she came out and basically gave the finger to nearly 43,000 people.
But wait a minute, you said that you called and she hung up on you.
She said, thank you, and I was about to say something else. Click.
Oh, come on, Doc.
Adios, Saira. Didn't even get the adios.
Click.
Click.
My congresswoman treated a viable opponent who graciously called with a yeah. You know, we in the hood we call that a diss.
Yeah,
dissed.
I think everybody calls that a diss.
Diana, I gotta give you some credit, Diana. You was throwing that shade. Shoot, I was when she throw that shade at Trump. You know, just put that shade on Trump. You know, because Trump been on their helmet.
Right.
Just put that, cause oh man, but first, there has been a lot of excitement in this whole election process, the last one that we just endured, and all this stuff going forward. And for me, you were amongst the highlights for me.
Oh, thank you.
To just say, wow, there are people who are willing to step up to the plate, challenge the legacies and the history of, you know, non-representation, but we get represented in our name, but, you know, we'll get a click or we'll get a pass by, you know, listening session, but at the end of the day, most of the time is not spent with us, it's spent with the big money.
Do you know what that's called?
Prostitution?
And getting used. We are used.
Wow.
I used to say tokenized, but that's a fancy word for getting our asses used.
Wow. And so when we first connected, it was because you wrote this incredible article. You broke up with the Democratic Party because of the very reasons that we're talking about. And that story went global. I mean, because a lot of people were experiencing that. And you didn't go away, you decided to throw your hat in the ring. What was that experience like? Let's talk about your experience.
Sure, I'd love to. So I'm a former lawyer. You know, we've all heard it. I worked on Wall Street. You know, I'm like a Wall Street fat cat. I'm like Bernie Madoff. But I went to law school, and in law school we talk a lot about practice versus theory. And before I ran for Congress, in some ways this was all theoretical, right? What I feel deeply appreciative to the liberal Democratic Party of Denver is that they gave me all the practice in the world to prove my theory that the Democratic Party, just like the Republican Party, the bloodline of the party is white supremacy.
Wow. White
supremacy and corporate donations, which, by the way, let's also call that what it is. Bribes.
Whoa.
That's what that is. Bribes.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it was a very illuminating, I feel very illuminating experience. I feel deeply grateful to have gotten it because I know that I'm not crazy. Like, I wasn't imagining being used and being tokenized. I wasn't imagining that the folks that I worked hard to get elected and knocked doors and made calls and gave money and held fundraisers for, I wasn't imagining that those people didn't give two hoots about me and you and everybody who looks like us. It's actually true.
But they got those people who are in a position to have their voice heard. Dr. Martin Luther King just said they received subsidies to be put into a position, you know what I mean, to have that kind of voice. You know, Hashim has checked into the Free Think Zone. Now, I did use the word prostitution because if you just take the money, like if you do it for money, we
got it.
Vanessa, if you do it for money,
it is.
You know, like it's not your core value, you know, not a judgment statement, it's not your value, but you do it for money. You know, you vote for the money, you represent the interest for the money. I think we would call that prostitution.
I don't disagree.
Hoeing.
Yeah.
Hoeing around. I don't know who's, listen, I don't know who's doing this. I'm just saying we've gotta have an analysis.
I agree.
But if you're doing it for the money and the people are continuing to suffer that send you to these different places to represent them, you're hoeing.
Yes, you are. Completely agree.
I mean, people get mad at me for saying some of these things, but I'm in therapy, Saira.
Good, so am I. That's the other thing. All my former white friends are like, have you seen your therapist?
Got to. We got to.
And my therapist concludes and agrees with me that you all are a bunch of white supremacists. That's
wow.
what my therapist says.
Okay, so can you talk a little bit, because when you say white supremacy, kind of break that down a little bit for me.
Sure, absolutely. So, let me just start by saying we live in a country that likes to shift blame. So, born and raised in Richmond, Virginia, right? 1974, 70s and 80s. My parents were Indian immigrants. My parents, were born in India, which was being colonized by the British. Left there to a country where they were essentially, moved to a colonial country also. And I was raised around Confederate flags.
Wow.
And all over my high school, right? I went to the University of Virginia, all over UVA. And then I moved to New York City, which is right. We think it's the bastion of progress and liberal politics. New York City was every bit as racist as Richmond, Virginia.
Wow.
The difference was people in New York would say, we can't be, there's no racism here, it's New York, and shift the blame to the South. So we collectively in this country, or by we, I mean white Americans, collectively have decided racism exists in the South. It's not anywhere else, right? White supremacy is in the South. It's not anywhere else. So too the Democratic Party. Republicans are the white supremacists, right? Not us. So let's tweet about Donald Trump. Let's have memes about the orange Cheeto. Let's talk on and on and on about the Republican KKK party, right? You know what else has KKK in it? The C in Democrat, KKK. Just because we are not carrying torches and we are not in the KKK and we are not painting swastikas, that doesn't mean we're absolved of guilt. Just like living in New York City doesn't absolve you of guilt.
Wow.
So this is what white supremacy looks like in the Democratic Party, as seen in sort of easy steps of Saira Rao's. Oh my God, I just talked about myself in the third person.
It's all right.
Primary. This is what they make me do. So instead of using racial epithets, right, you're not qualified.
Right.
So let's break that one down. Let's break that down. All right. I'm not Einstein, but here are my qualifications. University of Virginia, NYU Law School, clerked on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, which opinions I wrote are still quoted by the United States Supreme Court. Worked on Wall Street, as we all know. Started a highly successful book packaging company. The only qualification I lack is what?
You're not white.
That's
okay.
That's it.
This is, ladies and gentlemen, you have just entered the free think zone. This is a clinic going down. This is a clinic. And if you like what you're hearing, and if you don't like what you're hearing, but if you're just listening, go to brotherjeff.com right now. Make a donation of any amount. 7 donations a day. That's how we do it, Saira.
Good.
7 donations a day. Go to brotherjeff.com and make a donation. We're going to keep pushing. The Doghouse Dim, Joseph Salazar, has checked into the Free Think Zone.
Hello, Joe.
The Doghouse Dim is in the building. Here's what I like about you and the Doghouse Dim. And Levi Tillerman, by the way. You all made a prestigious list.
We did an amazing list.
You made an amazing list. I read about it in Westward.
Yeah.
From a meteorologist of all people.
You know what my weather prediction is to him, Chris Bianchi? It's going to rain, hail, and snow white supremacy in the near future.
For those who don't know what I'm talking about, Saira Rao, Levi Tillerman, and the Doghouse Dim, Joe Salazar, got the big sore loser kind of button award. Are you just a sore loser?
I am a sore loser. I am incredibly sore that we keep losing the fight against white supremacy. That's what I'm sore about. And if anybody, if the meteorologist, the incredible, journalistic skills he has, his investigative skills would have rendered, I have been writing about this For a long time. I've been writing about this for a long time. This is why I wrote the Huffington Post article. So somehow let's back it up though. The reason all of this happened, the reason the death threats happened, the reason these emails and Facebook posts happened from the Democratic Party is because I, as a private citizen, right, I'm just scrolling through my phone after the election with my kids, we're in the mountains, and as a private citizen, I retweet an essay written by Dr. George Yancey, a black professor from Emory University, and the essay is, should I give up on white people? And basically the question was, what he was saying is, I've been toiling and toiling and toiling to dismantle white supremacy, and I can't do that, right? So should I give up on white people actually doing that? And so I retweeted it and just put short and long answer, yes. So private citizen retweets a New York Times article. You would think that happens all the time, Nope, apparently not. So Paul Rosenthal, he's trademarked bold progressive.
Hold on, Paul was put out of his position because of said behaviors.
He got primary.
That's some major white privilege there. White dude gets knocked off the ballot for some questionable behavior. He, instead of going softly into the night and maybe going to find a little humility and educate himself, he's trolling brown woman. He retweets my tweet. It says that I'm a reverse racist, and then tags.
Wait! What's a reverse racism? What is that? Like you get hit by a car and you back up and you hit yourself again? What is a reverse? Okay, you get hit by racism, then you back up, then you get hit by it again.
Right. Yeah. You try explaining that to Paul Rosenthal. It's absurd. It doesn't exist, right? Because to have racism work, you need to have prejudice and power, system of power, which we don't have. So anyway, he then it's quite funny though.
You can't make this stuff up.
You cannot. This is full satire, right? It would be satire if it wasn't actually my life, but he then tagged Colorado politics, and Colorado Politics the magazine. Next thing you know, I'm just again sitting there and
go ahead.
Like my phone starts blowing. Like people are like retweeting blah blah blah, and my cell phone rings. Right. So a reporter, he's not a meteorologist. He's a reporter. White dude named Joey Bunch from Colorado Politics calls me, and he goes, "Hi, this is Joey Bunch from Colorado Politics," and I understand that you said something about giving up on white people. And he said it in a way that he had just discovered a secret Egyptian language rather than read a tweet.
What's his name again?
Joey Joey Bunch.
Okay.
Bunch of
Put
shit.
him on blast.
Joey Bunch of shit. So then he said, "Well, are you going to take that back?" And I was like, "Of course not. I just tweeted it."
Because you can't quit white people.
No. So I patiently explained, just like women cannot dismantle misogyny, that has to be on men, the people who created the system of oppression, who benefits from the system of oppression, that's men, so too it is literally impossible for brown and black people to dismantle white supremacy. White people have to do it. Guess what happened next? If you turn to chapter 3 in your white supremacy handbook, you know what happened next? Not all white people. And then he flipped the page and read me his resume of all the civil rights stories he's covered. And then the grand finale, he just went to the epilogue. You're a reverse racist, Saira.
You just ran over yourself.
The whole thing.
Ran yourself over. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So I kind of that was weird.
This is too much.
Yeah, that was weird.
Saira,
he wrote a story.
It's too much.
He wrote a story, and then Colorado Politics, the magazine, doubled down and blasted out the story to their entire subscription base. Okay, so suddenly, a private citizen tweeting a New York Times essay is getting all this nonsense. So then all the freaking neoliberal Democrats are retweeting, and I'm getting emails from former white supporters saying they're very disappointed in me and blah blah blah. Next thing you know, Michael Harriot at the Root. If you're not reading Michael Harriot, you got to do it now. He's amazing. Writes a story called "Denver Snowflakes Melt when former congressional candidate says she gives up on white people. So Breitbart and the Daily Caller had their eye on Michael Harriet at all times. And that's when everything exploded, right? Breitbart picks it up, the Daily Caller picks it up, and suddenly it's stuff that, I mean, we laugh about it, it's stuff that is very, very scary stuff. But they couldn't stop there, right?
It's more.
There's more. That's when Patricia Calhoun at Westward and her people decide that they're going to hire Chris Bianchi, 20-something white male meteorologist.
We talked about
to
Chris.
run the hit piece on me and Joe and Levi, right? And so let's just be clear. Say what you want about me. I lost by a ton of votes, right? Joe waited. He lost by less than 1% of the vote. He simply waited for the votes to be counted, and he got the number one sorest loser. I mean,
Wow.
I'm sorry, that's straight up racism right there.
See, but I know Patricia Calhoun at the Westward. She's a straight shooter. I don't get that, whole dynamic, and I don't understand why you can't give up on white people. That's like against the law.
You should. I mean,
But you can carry tiki torches. You can cut black women's throats. You can shoot people, brown people down in the streets. You can do all of that, no hue and cry. But you just can't retweet a New York Times article by Dr. George Jansen. You can't retweet it.
I think you know the answer to that.
You can't do it.
You can't do it.
Okay.
Cannot do it.
Everybody, here's what I need you to do right now. I need everybody to share this right now. If you're watching this, hit share. Share this live feed right now, because we're about to put it in overdrive, because I got to talk about Kim Sayers. Kim.
Talk about her. Talk about Kim Sayers.
I was looking at Kim, and she had some advice for you, and I want to just kind of set this up, because you got a lot of this.
A lot of advice.
It's time for Saira Rao to take a long, hard, inward look. Want to know what's turned me off? This has turned Kim off. The first words out of her mouth at our House district meeting were angry and hate-filled. Who wants to listen to that from someone they've never met before? Not exactly a winning strategy for getting votes. And didn't she notice all the brown and black faces in the room? And couldn't be bothered to dress for the part? Oh,
greatest hits.
What is this?
You should have worn a sari.
Sorry, but Saira ran a bad campaign. 43K voters in a short period of time. I don't know. Okay. And the results show it. Hostility on her part, lost votes for her, and until she stops pointing fingers, there are 3 pointing back at her. That's Kim.
That's Kim.
Any words for Kim? Or can we just call them Kimians at this point?
Kimians. So I want to talk about this particular House district meeting that she's referring to, because it's emblematic of my experience. So they used rules, right? They used rules to let Diana have the stage when I wasn't invited, or they'd let her know well in advance, and they'd give me like 10 seconds notice if I didn't show up. I was too good for them. I was never dressed properly in this particular case, and I should have worn a sari, right? That would have been awesome. Done the bhangra, wore a sari, like seeing what happened with that. But in this particular case, we had asked it to be able to speak early in the week. The meeting was on a Saturday. We asked to speak early in the week. They said the agenda has been set. No more speakers. Fine. Thursday, we get an email saying there's been an addition. Representative Diana DeGette's going to come and speak for 10 minutes. And so my campaign manager called and said, that's incredibly unfair. And they said, I'm sorry, she's giving a legislative update. So this is right. This is how rules are used to propagate oppression. And after tremendous amount of this is crazy, this is crazy, this is crazy, guess how much time they gave me? 60 seconds.
Oh.
Would that make you angry?
Oh.
So when I stood up in front of people that I didn't know, I said, I'm deeply disappointed that, I get 60 seconds, Diana DeGette gets 10 minutes, and then I talked about Black Lives Matter. And then I skipped out. So all of this stuff, and also the tokenizing, all the brown and black faces in the room, I couldn't be dressed. This is all white supremacy, right? So calling out the way we look, calling out the way we are dressed, calling us angry and divisive because we are expecting to be treated like normal human beings, talking about race, just mentioning race, talking about white supremacy, just mentioning it makes you worse than white supremacy. And that's a silencing tactic, right? You're angry. Sit down.
But you're supposed to go away. I think that you're supposed... Listen, you and the Doghouse Dim, you're supposed to go away. You know, usually, like, for example, could you just leave?
Right.
You know,
that's what this is.
Because we got what we want.
Right.
You know, we got our government subsidies. We got our you know, our farm money, and we don't have to farm. We're participating and we're benefiting from white supremacy. But you're supposed to continue to just take it. Mm-hmm. So I think that if white folks are not dismantling white supremacy, they're just as guilty of perpetrating it. And also those black folks and those brown folks that were in the room that probably gave you a lot of pushback at the same time. Because you do know that there are a lot of black and brown folks that they are opposed to what you're doing because they get a good biscuit and some molasses.
Right. And
they get the payoff. Howard, they get a biscuit sometime or a spoonful of sugar. And you know,
you might get a little honey.
You get a little honey.
You might get a little honey.
You can get a little honey. You get a spoonful of honey, and you can say that Saira. Do you like that Saira Rao girl? I don't like that Saira Rao. Do you know her? I don't. Have you ever walked up the Wakanda steps and talked to Brother Jeff? I don't know, Brother Jeff.
Internalized oppression is real.
If I see him, I'll get him for you. Sick them. We get sick on.
Well, literally.
We get sick on.
Yeah. So just to put this into a framework, national and then local. So I'm sure you followed what's happened to Representative Maxine Waters, right? So let's dissect that for a minute, shall we?
Please do.
So we have the Gestapo, which is also known as ICE,
right?
That we're funding because Congress keeps funding it. And they are doing what they always do. In this case, they were separating families. So Representative Waters did what no other person in the Democratic Party would do. She said to her supporters, get up and confront. She used the word confront. Confront Trump and his crew when you see them in public, in restaurants, in schools, wherever you see them, confront them. Now, what do you think Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi did?
They discredited, they distanced themselves.
No, that's not even, worse than that. Called her words un-American and unacceptable. So before they did that, though, she got a whole Joey bunch of death threats.
Whole bunch full.
Of death threats. And so you would think that they would have her back, right? Instead, they called her un-American, unacceptable. So what that does is they put a big target on her back. And 200 prominent African-American women leaders in this country have written letters to Pelosi and Schumer demanding an apology. Crickets, because they're not even worthy of a response. So it gets better, okay? And no other members of the Democratic Party have come to Representative Waters' defense. How is that any better than actually saying racist things to Maxine Waters?
Wow.
It's not. So I want to say this right now so we all are clear. That makes Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer white supremacists.
Wow.
That is what they are.
That's what it looks like. That's what it is.
And guess what else?
Whoa.
These people, I'm sure, are quoting Martin Luther King, I have a dream speech.
They're not quoting. No, they are not quoting Dr. Martin Luther King. They are quoting Dr. Martin Luther the King. There's a difference. When you sneak that the King in, that's when you're going to get sponsored by Quest. You know, Martin Luther the King sponsored by Kibbles and Bits. You know, Martin Luther the King, because that Martin Luther the King that they put out is not the Martin Luther King that I have studied, analyzed, and have grown to know, because he was actually, along with those with him, because a lot of people weren't with him, but they say they're with him now.
Of course.
We down now. He was actually confronting. Dr. King was confronting racism.
Right.
He was in there. He was on their helmet.
They hated him.
They loathed him.
They killed him.
We love him now.
Yeah.
Dr. Martin Luther the King.
Yeah.
That's mentioned.
Yeah.
The King. Okay, so Saira, let's go to the free theme song. There's so much here. You can't make this stuff up. Again, if we were going to name this and we were going to make it a movie, what would we name said movie?
Primary colored.
Primary color.
Oh, damn.
Primary color. Woo, my goodness. We're with Saira Rao. She's not going away. Maybe those 43,000 votes might go away.
Nope.
From
Well, there's a handful
The party.
of the Beckys who turned out they didn't like my talking about white supremacy. They've gone away, but it's a handful.
wow.
Yeah, it's a handful. I want to say one more thing.
Please.
One more thing. But just, I talked about Representative Waters right here. So, again, John Hickenlooper, Michael Bennett, Diana DeGette, they love talking about the I Have a Dream speech. Gandhi, too. Gandhi saying, be the change you want to be, which, by the way, David Sedbrook, that was his, campaign slogan, and then he threw the woman whose parents were born to colonialism under the bus! But he can't make it up. But he should, I hope he's got that t-shirt still, because I'm sure he wears it proudly. But, so the hate, right? The hate, the death threats, I can't even say the stuff. I mean, just go online and see the stuff that people said about me and my family. A lot of the comments came under my daughter's face on Instagram, making it even that much more sinister. Guess how many of them, do you think Diana DeGette or Michael Bennett or John Hickenlooper publicly condemned the hate?
I'm going to go with no.
Ding, 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 ding. Right answer.
My goodness.
Right
Did they at
answer.
least call you personally and just check in on you?
No. And you know why, Brother Jeff?
Why?
Do you know why these people didn't say a word, and why Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the whole host of them in Congress haven't said a word? They think we deserve it.
Yep.
And there's a term for that. It's called victim shaming.
Whoa.
And
This
that's
is a
what
clinic.
this is.
This is a clinic today.
We deserve it.
This is a clinic.
Read Chris Bianchi's thing. Saira Rao was like a promising candidate, and death threats are bad. But it's too bad she's gone batshit and has gotten really angry.
But you know what's going to be very interesting is the fact that if they don't like the rumblings now that are happening with people who have woken up to see what's going on and how the world is shaped around them, how are they going to deal with when it becomes a roar? How are they going to handle what's coming their way? Isn't this like something is happening on the horizon? People of color are rising up. No longer are these token biscuit-eating, molasses-looking leaders that look like them are no longer able to say, I represent all of them. Because now we're saying, hold up a second, how are you representing us if we're in a bad or worse situation after you've been elected and you're in a better situation and you're starting to look more like them and less like us? I mean, how are they going to handle this?
I don't know. All I know is I'm going to be in my underground bunker watching it with popcorn, wine, and hard shell tacos.
Now, I like the point that you raised where you said that the North kind of shifted the racism piece over to the South, when, of course, the North and the South benefited equally.
Of course.
And then you said that the Democrats shifted the kind of racism blame over to the Republicans, which both of them own all of that equally. I want to talk about Becky because I can't trust Becky because 53% of them voted for Trump.
I got trust issues.
And I got trust issues, Vanessa. Trust issues. Look, I was looking at this list that Stacey Patton put together on her. She wrote a piece. White woman who called the police on a black Oregonian state representative while she was out camping in Memphis, or campaigning. In Memphis, white woman who called the police on a black man for wearing socks at the pool.
We laugh, but it's really
Another pool incident, a white man calls the cops on a black woman just because she had the nerve to be there. Okay, maybe they don't believe black folks should be swimming.
They don't believe that black folks should be alive.
Whoa. That is so deep. I still haven't got over Catherine Bryant and that whole Bryant thing that happened back there that kicked off the civil rights movement. A lot of people don't know that the accuser of Emmett Till recently said that wasn't true.
Right.
Becky, we know it wasn't true. Your family wrote an article the next day after the acquittal and told how they killed and brutalized Emmett. That's kind of like the modern day equivalent of, we see this stuff on tape. We see all of these threats that are coming your way, and you still have to prove that it's taking place.
But even when it's proven, they don't care. Nope.
Wow.
You know, they don't care.
This is so interesting. How are you taking?
Can we actually go back to Becky for a minute?
If we must.
I have one.
Get on Becky's helmet.
Just one thing. Like, that article is really interesting because what she basically is saying, Dr. Stacey Patton is saying, is that this is very classic abuse 101. So husband abuses wife abuses kids abuse pets, and then the kids go on to becoming serial killers, right? What this is a situation of white women living with incredible toxic white masculinity, and instead of fighting them, what they're doing is controlling the rest of us, right? And they're just trying to empower themselves, just like white men are doing it to them. Yep. And so this is like not rocket science. And so what's happening, I mean, there is a movement of brown and black women fighting against Becky, and they can't handle it because there are a whole host of reasons why they can't handle it. But I think deep down inside, they're pissed that we're fighting against our enemy, them, when they don't have the bravery to fight against their enemy, which is the white man.
Becky, we're doing it for you. Becky, we're doing it for you. Becky, quit fighting us. Becky, if you're not going to fight, just move to the side for a second. We'll get this handled. We'll get it done. We'll take care of it. But Becky, you're in the way right now. Becky's in the way.
Becky's always in the way. You know what the B stands for in Susan B. Anthony? Becky.
Oh, gosh. The young bull is in the house. Tay Anderson, what's happening, bro?
Hey, Tay.
The bull is in the building. So much that we've got to cover because I want to think. You and the Doghouse Dim are both writing books because I understand that you got a book deal.
I did. It's coming out in the middle of October with McSweeney's. And I do have to this one funny thing. Because, oh, by the way, it's not just the Democratic Party. There are lots of institutions in play to uphold maximum white supremacy. So in addition to the Democratic Party, the liberal news media, like Westward, like the Progressive magazine, right? The New York Times, the Washington Post, ABC News, all of them. By the way, the New York Times wrote an article about Alan Dershowitz being bummed that he was getting shunned on Martha's Vineyard instead of writing about Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer throwing Maxine Waters under the bus. I think that's fake news. If you ask me, that's fake news. But anyway, you know, a super liberal Becky at a super liberal publishing house in New York City was interested in my book, and she calls me, right? She calls me, and she literally starts white-splaining white supremacy to me.
Wow.
And then she told me that she thinks that, quote, my strategy of telling white people that they're responsible for dismantling white supremacy is stupid, and I should think twice before employing such a strategy. And then she packed up her purse and went back to Brooklyn, right? And so after I posted about that, I actually got an email from the publisher of McSweeney's, who I guess has been following me for a couple years because, again, I've been writing about this for a long time.
You didn't just show up.
I didn't just show up. And she said, you know what, we want to give you full platform, open platform. We just started something called the Manifesto Series, short 15,000 word book, and you need to have your say. And what's even cooler than that, she's a white woman in San Francisco. She said, I don't even feel comfortable editing it. You should choose who's going to edit this. And the former head editor at The Root, Teresa Ridley, is now editing the book.
Super income.
And it's almost done. It's almost done. I've been it's going to make some folks here panic a little bit.
Hold on a second. Does that say 2 people shared? All of you watching, you need to hit that share button. Hit that share button. This is neat. Look, can you just tell me a couple names of the chapters? Chapter names.
Tell him about Becky.
One chapter is introducing Diana and friends, or Becky, or Becky, or Becky, or Becky.
This is gonna be
My
good.
personal favorite.
This is a hot grits book. I think you should put the trigger alert right there, right on the front.
And then hashtag
you know, when they open it, just put the trigger alert right there. The trigger alert.
It is there are disclaimers, which are there's 6 of them.
Oh my goodness, you are. Yeah. This is my favorite. Saira Rao Pow, living up to that name. Again, I think the old ways are about over.
They are.
White male patriarchy and supremacy is being dismantled before your eyes.
We've seen it.
And like I said the other day, the opposition is never going to tell you when you're winning or if you're scoring points. They're going to always try to discount your movement. But when we look back on this particular time in history, we're going to say that there were a lot of champions that fought for true equality, fought for real participation, fought for a society where everyone has a say, and it's not just those who enter into the white domain. Even if they're not white, you still got to have like the white sticker, or you got to have the white button. You got to have that white, the white stamp, the white stamp, which means that I will oppose black folks and oppressed folks and brown folks and women folks to the hilt. Count on me, sick me on them. That stuff's going to be over. We're going to look back and say there were people like Saira Rao who were at the forefront. That's for real. You are making history. History is being made, and I want to say right now that I appreciate the work that you're doing, and I like how you're doing it, because when people tell us to be quiet, that means we should be louder.
Agreed.
Agreed. And when they say you're going to lose friends, they weren't your friends anyway. Those same people would have wrote the same email or the same text or the same statement, even if you did the exact opposite of what they're encouraging you to do. I've been around long enough. White supremacy is resilient.
Oh my God.
It just pushes down on you. It just squeezes you. But you know what? That pressure makes diamonds.
It's true.
But the pressure makes diamonds.
Like the way I like to say it is, white supremacy is on a perpetual growth spurt.
I like some of the things that are happening within the party. In other words, where people are inside pushing and calling people out or making sure the right thing is done. What advice would you give to the party? What do you like in terms of what you're seeing? And of course, we know the white supremacist part has to go, but give us some steps forward. Give us the prognosis.
Last year, I don't know if you saw it, but Ta-Nehisi Coates was interviewed by Stephen Colbert. And at the end of the interview, Colbert said, you've had a hard time providing hope to white folks and for a hopeful future.
We got to keep hope alive for white folks.
And he said, "Can you do that? Can you do that today?" And Ta-Nehisi Coates goes, "Nope,
can't do it."
And then he goes, "Oh, come on." He was like, "I'm not asking you to make up I'm not asking you to make up shit." And Ta-Nehisi Coates said, "I would actually have to make up a whole lot of shit to give you a satisfying response." And so for me, what I think is interesting is I've been asked this a few times, and I've been asked by people in the party. One of my favorite, I was asked by somebody, well, you're just going to let all your, quote, you're going to just let all your people, just like you're not going to bring them in November. And I was like, oh, you misunderstand. First of all, they're not my people. They're their own people.
They're free thinkers.
And second of all, just because we're no longer up the Democratic Party's bum doesn't mean that we're not doing something.
Right.
We see the field. We're not trying to level the playing field. We're starting a field over here. So I am not interested in the Democratic Party. I'm not interested in fixing something that is so deeply broken and disgusting. I'm not going to look at the oppressor, people who treated me like trash. Sit down, wait your turn. White Beckys who screamed at my small children after the debate.
Wow.
I'm not going to come up here and be like, oh, this is what you need to do. Because I actually have no idea how to fix something that is so sick. It should be done.
Wow. Sochi's checked in. Sochi's another one of my favorites. Sochi! She said, please tell the free thinkers that there was a couple of racist incidents that took place when I attended Saira's campaign events. I shared them with Saira. Hopefully they'll make it to the book, buy the book, and find out about them.
Well, I'll tell you one right now. Sochi and her family and friends moved over at the debate to make room for an elderly white woman with a walker so she could sit down, and they were sort of talking amongst themselves while the debate was happening, and this woman does this thing to the row and calls them stupid.
Mm-hmm. Oh. You people are stupid.
You people are stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You people, she was talking about my opening act. That's my band. I got a band called You People. I got see that I do. I got a band. And that's the opening act. My opening act band is You People, and the mainline band is called Black Negro Cornbread. So bring it.
I suspect she would think both of those are stupid. That woman who was doing this.
This is I wanted to ask you, what did Diana DeGette stand up for Maxine Waters?
I'll let you answer that question, Brother Joe. What do you think?
I don't know.
If you had to guess.
No.
I
don't know.
No. Nope. Diana DeGette, tons of.
Hashim, he'll tell me. Hashim, can you get the receipts? Receipts, please. I would like to know my congresswoman's response to the treatment and to the words of Congresswoman
Maxine Waters.
Mama Maxine Waters.
God bless her. And you know what she said? She said, I hope if someone shoots me, they better shoot straight because nobody likes a wounded animal.
Maxine! Hashim, he'll get those grits for me. I know that he will get them.
Just make sure you don't get a cup of honey.
See, now I'm not really mad at Diana. I don't know what they do in Washington other than get whooped up by Trump and the crew.
Right?
I mean, I just need something like, I needed a Saira to get in there and put somebody in the headlock and say, I'm done. Because the country is being bowled over. Here's why I'm a little upset with the Democratic Party. Because they accuse the Republicans of cheating and stacking the deck. But I remember Bernie Sanders was the choice here in Colorado, but our superdelegates said, I'm going with Hillary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know, go check the superdelegates. So when those Democrats complained that Hillary won the popular vote, but lost the Electoral College,
yeah, it's hard.
You make sure you remind them that they cheated Bernie.
Right.
To get Hillary, because the fix was in.
Right.
And those super delegates, equivalent to the Electoral College, actually gave you a candidate that Trump got on her helmet.
Right. Right.
Our Democrats gave us Trump.
Yes.
If along that thinking, if they cheated to get Hillary in, because I think that Bernie would have beat Trump.
Maybe, yeah.
I think maybe so. I don't know, but I do know
Bernie had some race issues.
Yeah, but I know the deck was a little stacked. So you gotta be fair, and you gotta play by the rules. You gotta play by the rules as well. But you're leaving the party now. Last time you came back, but this time
I've hit the road. I do want to be clear though. I want to be clear that I have not entered this like walk away movement where I'm like leaving the party to go to the Republican Party. And I have an Indian friend in New York City who was like full on Bernie, was progressive before progressive was cool. She is now a Trump supporter.
Wow.
So to give you a sense of how angry a lot of folks are right now, and that's crazy. I would never be. I mean, I've got a whole host of things to say about Donald Trump, namely that he's a rapist and a white supremacist and a loser and a douchebag and a liar and like a lot of stuff. So I would not be a Trump supporter. But this woman is a free-thinking, smart, professional woman, and she's not alone. She's not alone. So I think the Democrats, I think it's extraordinary that they're doing the exact same thing they did in November 2016. They see Hillary Clinton's election as an anomaly rather than like the reality, right? So they're doubling down on the status quo. Why did Nancy Pelosi come here to campaign with and fundraise for Diana DeGette in the weeks before our election? Why did she do that? This is a totally blue district. Why would she get involved in the primary?
Wow.
So it's because of the status quo, and it all is what? What does it all come down to? Money.
It comes down to the money. But
Prostitution.
if you do it for the money, I don't know. If you do it for the money, we call that hoeing. We just call it what it is in the free think zone. We just call it what it is. That no judgment, of course. But let's keep moving. Okay. So what is a good strategy moving forward for those who are disgruntled? I know some people are pulling back on their vote. And you know I can't stand when people say that black folks died for our right to vote. I'm like, no, black folks died because white supremacy and they were undergirded by a government that was involved with the White Citizens Council and turned their head when they murdered our people and all that stuff. So just stop that biscuit molasses answer. I mean, just tell the whole story. If you raised your children to say, you know what, this is a very racist environment, they really hate you, and they maximize your labor to make them rich, and you got to be careful, etc., etc. You think that would make one of your children's books? No.
Yeah, I mean, it's I can't even, don't even get me started on the super liberal children's book publishers. I tried to get a book done last year on the genocide of indigenous people, and I was asked, and I quote, well, what's the happy ending?
What's the happy ending? There is no happy ending.
Can't even make it up. And then they said, well, what are you, like, how are you going to explain genocide? And like, you just write it. Like, just like, I mean, you have talking pigs and cows in your books, and you can't have a book on genocide. So our children, right, this is how it's perpetuated. This is how it starts, and this is how it's perpetuated, is it happens, indoctrination into white supremacy happens in utero. And it starts early, and that's why we have the preschool, to prison pipeline. This happens early.
What would you say to people who say, Saira, if Walker Stapleton wins and this state goes purple or blue or red, if it goes red, it's because of you? It's because of your anger. It's because you gotta blame someone.
You know what I'd say to them?
I'd
say nothing. I'd say nothing, because I think it's amazing that you know why white people are up in arms right now? For the first time in their lives, they have a person in the White House who's actually affecting their street cred. I can't tell you how many white people are on Facebook, and they're in Europe, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed to be American in Italy right now. I'm so embarrassed to be American in England right now. As if that's worse than actually being a black or brown person in America. Like, they're embarrassed. That's what this is about. They're embarrassed. And so and that's why they're suddenly up in arms, right? And so, and there is North Korea and Russia and all these other very important things, but yeah, if Walker Stapleton wins, people are free to blame me for anything. I've been blamed for so many things already, and I've just been in the public eye since the middle of January.
Black folks have been blamed for crime in this country when they were stolen. I'm like, how does that work?
Hashim has the receipts.
How does that work?
Hashim has the receipts.
Okay, Hashim moves fast. He doesn't mess around. Barb D. Apology. Barb. I'm sorry, I
never get her name right. Yeah,
I'm always messing it up. But she says she's walking out the door with Saira. She's fed up. Wow. Danielle Combo has checked in. Give Danielle a round of applause. She's in the free think zone and she's running hard. The black candidates and candidates of color, they have to bear so much and do it gracefully. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to those candidates that are willing to continue to trudge along and work within the system in the face of the currents that will come their way?
Well, that's a very interesting question. So let me just give you an anecdote and then I'll respond. So after the debate, there was like a line out the door, like a new iPod was just launched at Apple. There's a line out the door of Becky's waiting to yell at me, right? So it was like the fourth or fifth Becky. Actually, my friend Sonia, who's here, was standing next to me, and on the fourth one, she said to me, "You are so angry. You are just so angry, and you're such a liar, and you're so angry." And so I just said calmly, there's a history of white people calling brown and black women angry. I would just suggest that you refrain from using that word. You know what she said to me? My daughter's Indian. I can say anything I want.
Oh.
Wow. And I was like, no, you can't. Wow. But I didn't say that. I took it.
Check for Nancy Kronk. Yep. Check for Nancy Kronk. She's calling you a sore loser. We've got Becky live.
Oh,
Becky has tuned in.
So Sonia went and tweeted afterwards and said something about, I now understand that Diana DeGette's her white female supporters, it's just they're like white supremacists, and I retweeted it. Diana DeGette's husband from his Denton, he's a partner at Denton's, from his law firm, blasted out an email. I wonder if his law firm even knows this, saying, look at what Diana's opponent just retweeted. Okay? So first of all, completely, like it's worse that I retweeted that than the fact that this woman attacked me, right? It's my calling it out, and Sonia calling it out is worse than the underlying crime of white supremacy. That's called white fragility, right? That's white fragility. White fragility is white supremacy. And Sonia, by the way, has been attacked by Breitbart, has gotten death threats for her speaking out. By that guy doing that, he's opening her up for more death threats.
You know, Nancy Kronk has said, I've been an activist in the Democratic Party for 3 decades.
Here it is. Wait,
and
chapter
also
one
ran for office myself.
Of course.
I have worked on many campaigns and seen lots of winners and losers in the party.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tendency for people who have put their heart and soul into their campaign and then lose, turn on the Democratic Party and say, the party didn't treat me fairly, or the Democrats aren't no better, didn't help me enough, or the Democrats are no better than the Republicans for blank. It is human nature after a loss to want to point the finger and being angry. I get that. I was there momentarily after my loss as well. I've seen this 100 times. Usually, however, grieving candidates are, and then there's ... You want to...
It's wise enough to not jump in front of a microphone right away after a loss.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that on mine. So you should have not wise enough to jump in front of a microphone after a loss. Mm-hmm. Nancy from the Free Think Zone has checked in. What do you got to say about that?
Live in the studio.
So Nancy, you've seen this 100 times. You know what I've seen 1,000,000 times? Liberal white supremacy.
Yes.
And that's what you are, my friend Nancy. That is what you are. I will not go away. I'm too wise. I'm too wise because I know exactly what you all want me to do. You want me to go away. You want me to bring my people and all that. I'm not. This is white fragility 101, Nancy. You just read chapters 1 through 4, like a dramatic reading of chapters 1 through 4. I wish we could have seen it live. Maybe it could be a Pink Pussy Hat the musical.
You gotta love the Free Think Zone. These free thinkers. I mean, everybody, Kristen, our friend Kristen Mallory Wasterberg. There are 2 tanks, a Democratic Party and a Republican Party. Both will kill you if you are on the outside. I'd rather be on the inside of the tank and fight for control. I'm not surrendering to the neoliberals. Any thoughts there?
And that's a very fair point, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for people like Kristen and respect for people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who won in New York, and respect for Cori Bush, a black woman running in District 1 of Missouri against a longstanding incumbent because he didn't show up once for Ferguson, one time, and so she's trying to primary him out as well. I have respect for that. I'll tell you what, this is not for the faint of heart, right? It is not, and at some point, and frankly, I don't even have feelings anymore. I think they skipped town a little while ago. If I actually thought that my resources and my time and my energy would be best served to further dismantling white supremacy by staying within the tank, I'd stay in the tank. I like fish. I'd stay in the tank. I don't think that's the case. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, and that is part of it. For us, if you're white, I think stay in the tank and fight because we need you to stay in the tank and fight. I think if you're brown or black, it's very difficult because it's a non-winning proposition, and our time, our talents are better spent creating the other field.
The young bull Tay Anderson says, if the Democrats are on the same path as they were in 2016, do you think Trump will be reelected in 2020?
Not just do I think he's going to be reelected in 2020. You know what? Your blue wave. I see your blue wave, and I'm going to just, just deny that. I'm going to wait for the brown and black wave. That's the wave that I don't give a crap about your blue wave.
Yes.
Frankly, number one. Number two, we're not going to just see Trump in 2020. That man is going to make sure that we have a constitutional amendment to overturn term limits for president. We're going to see him for a third term, a fourth term. This is going to be a full-blown dictatorship.
You know, here's something that, you know, when I think about Bernie, some of this has been said about you as well. They were saying that Bernie was not a real Democrat. You know, he joined the party to run. Some were saying that you were not a real Democrat. Did you ever, anybody ever accuse you of not being a Democrat?
I mean, what do you think, Brother Jeff? Yeah, and look, I said this many times. It's not party first. It's human beings first.
Yes.
And so I would never. This is not like a sports team, right? You don't have. This is human beings we're talking about. And if being party first means signing up for misogyny and signing up for white supremacy and signing up for massive income disparity and no health care and signing up to keep funding the Gestapo of America and just sign me up for oppression. If that's what it means to be in the party, no thank you. I'm not a real Democrat then.
You know, I think a lot of people often get black and brown passion mixed up for anger. Yes. And they don't understand how we use our anger and we convert it into fuel to help move forward.
If you white, you excited. If you not.
Oh, Howard. Right, Howard.
Right?
If you're white, you're passionate.
You're excited.
You're committed. You're determined.
You're right.
Yeah.
I've seen Becky's get angrier about a spin class that starts late than brown kids being put into cages.
Oh my gosh. Did you get put out of Hickenlooper's office? It says, be clear, Hickenlooper told Saira to leave his office when she wouldn't back down on dismantling ICE. Did my man put you out his office?
He didn't kick me out. He ended the meeting very abruptly, and he told me he did not like my strategy after telling me that ICE had some, quote, legitimate functions, which Dinah DeGette has also said. Let's think about that for a second. I suspect that the Gestapo had some legitimate functions, right? Like, they probably rescued some cats of Nazis and helped some, like, nice old Aryan ladies across the street. But sometimes you can be judged by your one-offs, and if your job is to commit genocide and lead millions of Jews to their death, that kind of feels like maybe that should override the legitimate stuff. ICE is literally terrorizing and killing and raping six-year-old girl, raping communities of color. I think whatever legitimacy they have has got to be trumped by what they're doing.
This is too much. This is good. This is healing. Do you think it's going to fall on deaf ears? Do you think that people will really realize that the gig is up and that they're going to have to give away or get rid of or drop some of their privilege if we're all going to have an equitable society? Or are people going to keep kind of blaming those who call it out as the problem?
That is an excellent question, and this is a sincere answer. I've thought about this a lot. I've truly come to a place where I no longer care about what people think about me and what I'm saying, and there is no strategy. I have no strategy. All I am doing is speaking my truth. And people can blame me, people can point their fingers, or as Kim Sayers said, three fingers are pointed at me. That's fine too. However many fingers want to be pointed, I don't care, because I'm just speaking my truth. We don't have that much time on this earth, and I got 2 little kids, and I want to make sure I leave it slightly better for them than it was for me, and make life a little bit easier for them. And I could give 2 rats' asses. What I just don't care. 2 or 3. I just don't care.
The Doghouse Dim, check it out. I'm not going to rely on white people to dismantle systemic discrimination. They won't do it. I've taken down some shit because I knew White House colleagues wouldn't do it. We need more black and brown and people from other marginalized groups to be elected because we got to do it. That's the Doghouse Dim.
Yes, that's
Doghouse Dim.
We don't need any more white saviors.
Well, we got rid. Well, there was a white savior in DPS named Tom Goldsberg who has been after 10 years tapped out, and I guess Vanessa, there's going to be a press
Yes.
conference today at 3:30. Are we leaving here and we're going there? And
Yes.
Come tell.
Come on, talk about it.
Come over
Here,
here.
take my seat.
All right.
No. Go ahead, have a
Let's
seat.
get live up in here.
There's so much anger right now.
Yes.
We're gonna blow it up with the anger.
Yes. So we have a public service announcement coming live to you 3:30 p.m. 1860 Lincoln Street at Denver Public Schools. Emily Griffith, please be there. We are coming out in full force. Our Voices, Our Schools will be leading it, but it has a huge, strong coalition of folks. Colorado Working Families, Project Voice, of course, Denver Community Action Network, local unions. We all signed on. We will be doing a big conference, and we're going to be serving up hot grits for the school board and for Boasberg, laying out our demands of what we want in a superintendent and what we want this board to do to ensure that our voices are included in the selection process. Not only the community voices, but students, parents, and teachers' voices in that process. And so,
what are you guys asking for the next superintendent?
check out our press release. Come at 3:30, 1860. And I got a special surprise. I'll be serving up some hot
I'm bringing honey. I'm bringing honey.
I'll bring it some honey.
I have one more thing, service thing.
Go ahead.
So a bunch of amazing organizations are occupying ICE this week. And so go to Facebook, check it out, Occupy ICE Denver. Please join in when you can this week, because apparently Congress is not going to do it. They're not going to stop like the full-blown fascism from taking over our country. So we have to be there. We have to show up. So just check it out. Go to Facebook and just look up Occupy ICE Denver, and details will be there.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we give a round of applause to Saira Rao and all that she's done? When they talk bad about you, when they try to get on your helmet, that means you're doing the thing. You are doing it. And so you just keep on, because you've got a lot of support. A lot of us are looking forward to where this leads. 43,000 votes is not someone who ran a bad campaign.
In 5 months.
And I'm telling you, all of the free thinkers out there, we know that there are great people of all backgrounds and colors. We got some accomplices in the house. You all know who you are. Who are going to help dismantle white supremacy, and you're going to be called a traitor, and you're going to be called a Benedict Arnold, and all of those different things. But remember, on 23rd Avenue, they named the projects that used to be projects Benedict Place. So, keep on keeping on. We're going to go out. We're going to head. Vanessa, we're going down to where again? Is it the Emily Griffith building?
Yep, 1860 Lincoln.
1860 Lincoln. More. Don't forget, we've got more coming your way. It's an open place. You just keep on. And everybody, remember, if you go down swinging. I'm excited about you.
Thank you. I'm excited too. I'm excited about our movement.
And
we have a movement.
There's a movement that's taking place. And so I'm speechless.
Well, that's
what are you going to do to take care of yourself? What have you been doing for fun?
I have been hanging out with my kids, which has been fun, and my dog. And we're with my in-laws for a bit, and we're going to head to the beach for a week.
You're going to the beach?
We are.
Now that's good. What are you listening to? What's on your playlist?
Nothing. I'm not listening. This is true. This is weird. I was so checked out of music and movies and art for so long. It's like my brain hasn't kind of caught up to that. So that's on my agenda for next week. My final draft of this book is due next week, and after that's done, I'm gonna hit the road. I'm gonna all sorts of music. Send me suggestions.
Listen to some Bhangra.
Okay, yeah.
So when the book comes out, you're gonna come back and read some of it for us?
I'll do. Maybe we should have Nancy come and do a dramatic reading.
Oh wow! I'd love it. Nancy, you've been invited. You come on. We love you. We love everybody. We checked in, and again, if you go down swinging, you might just score a knockout. If you look up, you can get up. Free thinkers out there. Rumble, young man and woman, rumble. We're heading over to Emily Griffith, Saira Rao.
Boom!
Pow! Go Go to brotherjeff.com, make your donation, and you will have your Black Community of Colorado card. Wow.